There's lots of different styles of debate. I'm a big fan of all of them, both the formal and the informal debates. I think you have to measure your expectations. I don't ever set out to think I'm going to convince somebody over the course of a single discussion or a single debate. It's about getting information out to people. But I not only don't consider them a waste of time, I'm absolutely convinced from my experience and the evidence that I've gathered over the years of doing this, that they're incredibly valuable. It's a way to provide information. It's one of many different ways. You've got the TV shows, you've got books, you've got YouTube, you've got various websites, you've got interviews with thinkers. Debates are in a unique position because there are two sides represented. You are likely to draw an audience made up of believers and non-believers, or people on both sides of the issue. And this makes sure that the information is getting to the people who need it. I love coming to atheist conventions, don't get me wrong, but sitting around congratulating each other for getting the correct answer to what I think is literally the easiest question in the universe, which is, do I have any good reason to believe this? That's great. It's good for motivating people, but it's not good for helping people free themselves from religion. And while the discussions, informal, are probably one of the key ways of doing it, the books are great. The debates can bring in a lot of people. They can help groups. They can actually be profitable for groups. I mean, you get 300, 400, 500, 600 people for a debate. That's convention attendance. The apologists look at this as if they're working towards some good goal. And to me, it's just so obviously self-refuting, because most of the time they're not arguing for the God they believe in. Most of the time they're arguing for a deistic God and then trying to shoehorn Jesus in. And the rest of the time, they're in this exercise that if you take a step back from it, and this sounds like I'm opposed to having the debates, and that's not remotely the truth, but if you take a step back from it, you say, does this make sense? They believe that there's a God who is evident by looking at the trees, and who loves them and has an important message for them, and an important message for the world. He cares about the world and he wants to save everybody. And yet, the best argument they can put forth for the existence of God is an argument that 1%, 2% of the population even has any hope of understanding, and that the people who might understand it best have, spent decades learning these topics and learning about epistemology and reason, logical arguments, how to spot fallacies, perhaps cosmology and quantum physics and the evidence behind all these things, and they build it all up. And I'm like, what God are you arguing for? I mean, if there's a God and you have to have 5 PhDs and study 1,000 years of history, when I was a believer, not only did I think my God was rational, but it was either not only self-evident, but direct experience and revelation, which is not a good foundation to argue from, which is why they don't. I won't debate Ray Comfort ever again. There's a handful of other people that I probably won't debate. Once upon a time, I'd say I'd debate anybody. At this point, I'm in enough demand that just the average person on Facebook or on YouTube who sends me a debate request, I just may not have time to do it. But when it comes to Ray, I actually agreed to debate him on a Christian radio station in Minneapolis, St. Paul that had me on previously. And the subject was supposed to be, does God exist? And Ray came on and said he had no interest in demonstrating that God exists to anybody. And went on his shtick about how we all really know God exists, so we're just lying, and how much he loves me and wants to save me from hell. And on some level, I would consider it a waste of my time, because I came in prepared to do a debate, and my opponent showed up and basically said, I don't want to debate. I just want to tell Matt that he's going to hell and that Jesus is the answer, but I love him. And on another level, I don't think it was a waste of my time at all, because I was live on drive time Christian radio with Christians listening, and they had to sit through that and recognize that this evangelist, this street preacher, who had agreed to come on and debate, offered no arguments, no evidence, no counters to anything, and then just flatly sat there and said that he loved me and wanted to save me from hell, but didn't care to demonstrate the actual proposition we were debating. And so my closing remarks kind of summarized all this, and I said that, I would suggest to Ray that he stop accepting debates about topics that he has no interest in debating, and that I wouldn't ever be debating him again. And quite frankly, given that demonstration on the radio, I don't see any reason why anybody in the atheist community should ever pay any attention to Ray or debate him again. Let him go keep doing his street preaching. Let him keep producing videos full of misinformation designed to confuse people. And we'll keep combating it with real debates against real opponents and lectures and talks and conventions and things where we can actually, and TV shows like mine, where we can reach out to people. And because we care. You know, Ray pretends like he cares that I'm going to hell, or maybe he legitimately cares, but he doesn't care to have the sort of discussion that would actually convince anyone. He just wants to preach. I got done listening to preaching a long time ago.